This video is for educational purposes. Tashkent is the capital and largest city of Uzbekistan. It is the most populous city in Central Asia, with a population of 3 million. It is located in northeastern Uzbekistan, near the border with Kazakhstan. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and families. Before Islamic influence started in the mid-8th century AD, Tashkent was influenced by the Sogdian and Turkic cultures. After Genghis Khan destroyed it in 1219, it was rebuilt and profited from the Silk Road. From the 18th to the 19th centuries, the city became an independent city-state, before being reconquered by the Khanate of Kokand. In 1865, Tashkent fell to the Russian Empire. It became the capital of Russian Turkestan. In Soviet times, it witnessed major growth and demographic changes due to forced deportations from throughout the Soviet Union. Much of Tashkent was destroyed in the 1966 Tashkent earthquake, but it was rebuilt as a model Soviet city. It was the fourth largest city in the Soviet Union at the time, after Moscow, Leningrad, and Kiev. Today, as the capital of an independent Uzbekistan, Tashkent retains a multi-ethnic population, with ethnic Uzbeks as the majority. In 2009, it celebrated its 2,200 years of written history. During its long history, Tashkent has undergone various changes in names and political and religious affiliations. Abu Rayhan Biruni wrote that the city's name Tashkent comes from the Turkic Tash and Kent, literally translated as Stone City or City of Stones. Tashkent was first settled sometime between the 5th and 3rd centuries BC by ancient people as an oasis on the Churchic River, near the foothills of the West Tian Shan Mountains. In ancient times, this area contained Baidian, probably the summer capital of the Kangju Confederacy. Some scholars believe that a stone tower, mentioned by Ptolemy in his famous treatise Geography, and by other early accounts of travel on the Old Silk Road, referred to this settlement, due to its etymology. This tower is said to have marked the midway point between Europe and China. Other scholars, however, disagree with this identification, though it remains one of 4 most probable sites for the stone tower. In pre-Islamic and early Islamic times, the town and the province were known as Chach. The Shahnameh of Ferdowsi also refers to the city as Chach. The Principality of Chach had a square citadel built around the 5th to 3rd centuries BC, some 8 kilometers, 5.0 miles, south of the Sir Daria River. By the 7th century AD, Chach had more than 30 towns and a network of over 50 canals, forming a trade center between the Sogdians and Turkic nomads. The Buddhist monk Xuanzang, 602-603, 664 AD, who traveled from China to India through Central Asia, mentioned the name of the city as Zhishir, Zhishir. The Chinese chronicles history of northern dynasties, Book of Sui, and Old Book of Tang mention a possession called Shirchi, stone, or Zhishir Zhishir with a capital of the same name since the 5th century AD. In 558 to 603, Chach was part of the Turkic Khaganate. At the beginning of the 7th century, the Turkic Khaganate, as a result of internecine wars and wars with its neighbors, disintegrated into the Western and Eastern Khaganates. The Western Turkic ruler Tong Yabgu Khagan, 618 to 630, set up his headquarters in the Mingbulak area to the north of Chach. Here he received embassies from the emperors of the Tang Empire and Byzantium. In 626, the Indian preacher Prabhakaramitra arrived with 10 companions to the Khagan. In 628, a Buddhist Chinese monk Xuanzang arrived in Mingbulak. The Turkic rulers of Chach minted their coins with the inscription on the obverse side of the Lord of the Khakan money, mid-8th century, with an inscription in the ruler Turk, 7th century. In Nujkut in the middle of the 8th century, coins were issued with the obverse inscription Nanchu, Banchu, Urdugan sovereign. Tashkent was conquered by the Umayyad Caliphate at the beginning of the 8th century. According to the descriptions of the authors of the 10th century, Chach was structurally divided into a citadel, an inner city, Medina, and 2 suburbs, an inner, Rabadahil, and an outer, Rabadharij. The citadel, surrounded by a special wall with 2 gates, contained the ruler's palace and the prison. Under the Samanid Empire, whose founder Ismail Samani was a descendant of Persian Zoroastrian convert to Islam, the city came to be known as Binkith. However, the Arabs retained the old name of Chach for the surrounding region, pronouncing it Ashash, Asheshu, instead. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Ali Ashashi, known as Al-Kafil Ashashi, 904 to 975, was born in Tashkent. He was an Islamic theologian, scholar, jurist of the Shafi'i madhab, hadith scholar, and linguist. After the 11th century, the name evolved from Chachkan/Chashkan to Tashkent. The modern spelling of Tashkent reflects Russian orthography and 20th century Soviet influence. At the end of the 10th century, Tashkent became part of the possessions of the Turkic state of the Karakhanids. In 998–99 the Tashkent oasis went to the Karakhanid Ahmad ibn Ali, who ruled the northeastern regions of Mavarannar. In 1177–78, a separate khanate was formed in the Tashkent oasis. Its center was Banakit, where dirhams of Muiz ad-Dunya Wadi-din Kilich Khan were minted, in 1195–1197, and of Jalal ad-Dunya Wadi-din Tafghat Khakan, in 1197–1206. The city was destroyed by Genghis Khan in 1219 and lost much of its population as a result of the Mongols' destruction of the Khwarezmid Empire in 1220. Under the Timurid and subsequent Shaybanid dynasties, the city's population and culture gradually revived as a prominent strategic center of scholarship, commerce, and trade along the Silk Road. During the reign of Amir Timur, 1336–1405, Tashkent was restored, and in the 14th to 15th centuries Tashkent was part of Timur's empire. For Timur, Tashkent was considered a strategic city. In 1391 Timur set out in the spring from Tashkent to Deshti Kipchak to fight the Khan of the Golden Horde Toktamish Khan. Timur returned from this victorious campaign through Tashkent. The most famous Saint Sufi of Tashkent was Sheikh Kovendi Atakur, 13th to the first half of the 14th century. According to legend, Amir Timur, who was treating his wounded leg in Tashkent with the healing water of the Zemzem spring, ordered to build a mausoleum for the saint. By order of Timur, the Zangiota mausoleum was built. In the 16th century, Tashkent was ruled by the Shaybanid dynasty. Shaybanid Suyunch Khoja Khan was an enlightened Uzbek ruler. Following the traditions of his ancestors Mirzo Ulugbek and Abul Khair Khan, he gathered famous scientists, writers and poets at his court, among them, Vasifai, Abdullah Nasrullahi, Masoud bin Osmani Kohistani. Since 1518 Vasifai was the educator of the son of Suyun Khoja Khan Keldi Muhammad, with whom, after the death of his father in 1525, he moved to Tashkent. After the death of his former pupil, he became the educator of his son, Abu el-Muzaffar Hassan Sultan. Later the city was subordinated to Shaybanid Abdullah Khan II, the ruler actually from 1557, officially in 1583 to 1598, who issued his coins here from 1598 to 1604. Tashkent was ruled by the Shaybanid Keldi Muhammad, who issued silver and copper coins on his behalf. In 1598, Kazakh Tawkil Khan was at war with the Khanate of Bokhara. The Bokhara troops sent against him were defeated by Kazakhs in the battle between Tashkent and Samarkand. During the reign of Yesim Khan, a peace treaty was concluded between Bokhara and Kazakhs, according to which Kazakhs abandoned Samarkand, but left behind Tashkent, Turkestan and a number of Sir Daria cities. Yesim Khan ruled the Kazakh Khanate from 1598 to 1628. His main merit was that he managed to unite the Kazakh Khanate. The city was part of Kazakh Khanate between 1598 and 1723. In 1784, Yunus Khoja, the ruler of the Dhaka district, Shahantahar, united the entire city under his rule and created an independent Tashkent state, 1784 to 1807, which by the beginning of the 19th century seized vast lands. In 1809, Tashkent was annexed to the Khanate of Kokand. At the time, Tashkent had a population of around 100,000 and was considered the richest city in Central Asia. Under the Kokand domination, Tashkent was surrounded by a moat and an adobe battlement, about 20 kilometers long, with 12 gates. It prospered greatly through trade with Russia but chafed under Kokand's high taxes. The Tashkent clergy also favored the clergy of Bokhara over that of Kokand. However, before the Emir of Bokhara could capitalize on this discontent, the Russian army arrived. In May 1865, Mikhail Grigorevich Cherniev, acting against the direct orders of the Tsar and outnumbered at least 15-1, staged a daring night attack against a city with a wall 25 kilometers 16 miles long with 11 gates and 30,000 defenders. While a small contingent staged a diversionary attack, the main force penetrated the walls, led by a Russian Orthodox priest. Although the defense was stiff, the Russians captured the city after 2 days of heavy fighting and the loss of only 25 dead as opposed to several thousand of the defenders, including Alimkul, the ruler of the Kokand Khanate. Cherniev, dubbed the Lion of Tashkent by city elders, staged a hearts and minds campaign to win the population over. He abolished taxes for a year, rode unarmed through the streets and bazaars meeting common people, and appointed himself military governor of Tashkent, recommending to Tsar Alexander II that the city become an independent Khanate under Russian protection. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and families. The Tsar liberally rewarded Cherniev and his men with medals and bonuses, but regarded the impulsive general as a loose cannon, and soon replaced him with General Konstantin Petrovich von Kaufmann. Far from being granted independence, Tashkent became the capital of the new territory of Russian Turkestan, with Kaufman as first governor-general. A cantonment and Russian settlement were built across the Angkor Canal from the old city, and Russian settlers and merchants poured in. Tashkent was a center of espionage in the great game rivalry between Russia and the United Kingdom over Central Asia. The Turkestan Military District was established as part of the military reforms of 1874. The Trans-Caspian Railway arrived in 1889, and the railway workers who built it settled in Tashkent as well, bringing with them the seeds of Bolshevik Revolution. With the fall of the Russian Empire, the Russian Provisional Government removed all civil restrictions based on religion and nationality, contributing to local enthusiasm for the February Revolution. The Tashkent Soviet of Soldiers and Workers' Deputies was soon set up, but primarily represented Russian residents, who made up about a fifth of the Tashkent population. Muslim leaders quickly set up the Tashkent Muslim Council, Tashkent Shura-i Islamiyya, based in the Old City. On March 10, 1917, there was a parade with Russian workers marching with red flags, Russian soldiers singing La Marseillaise and thousands of local Central Asians. Following various speeches, Governor-General Alexei Kuropatkin closed the events with words, "Long live a great free Russia." The first Turkestan Muslim Conference was held in Tashkent 16 to 20 April 1917. Like the Muslim Council, it was dominated by the Jadid, Muslim reformers. A more conservative faction emerged in Tashkent centered around the ulama. This faction proved more successful during the local elections of July 1917. They formed an alliance with Russian conservatives, while the Soviet became more radical. The Soviet attempt to seize power in September 1917 proved unsuccessful. In April 1918, Tashkent became the capital of the Turkestan Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, Turkestan ASSR. The new regime was threatened by white forces, basmachi, revolts from within, and purges ordered from Moscow. The city began to industrialize in the 1920s and 1930s. Violating the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941. The government worked to relocate factories from Western Russia and Ukraine to Tashkent to preserve the Soviet industrial capacity. This led to great increase in industry during World War II. It also evacuated most of the German communist émigrés to Tashkent. The Russian population increased dramatically. Evacuees from the war zones increased the total population of Tashkent to well over 1 million. Russians and Ukrainians eventually comprised more than half of the total residents of Tashkent. Many of the former refugees stayed in Tashkent to live after the war, rather than return to former homes. During the post-war period, the Soviet Union established numerous scientific and engineering facilities in Tashkent. On January 10, 1966, then Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and Pakistan President Ayub Khan signed a pact in Tashkent with Soviet Premier Alexei Kosygin as the mediator to resolve the terms of peace after the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. On the next day, Shastri died suddenly, reportedly due to a heart attack. It is widely speculated that Shastri was killed by poisoning the water he drank. Much of Tashkent's old city was destroyed by a powerful earthquake on April 26, 1966. More than 300,000 residents were left homeless, and some 78,000 poorly engineered homes were destroyed, mainly in the densely populated areas of the old city where traditional adobe housing predominated. The Soviet republics, and some other countries, such as Finland, sent battalions of fraternal peoples and urban planners to help rebuild devastated Tashkent. Tashkent was rebuilt as a model Soviet city with wide streets planted with shade trees, parks, immense plazas for parades, fountains, monuments, and acres of apartment blocks. The Tashkent Metro was also built during this time. About 100,000 new homes were built by 1970, but the builders occupied many, rather than the homeless residents of Tashkent. Further development in the following years increased the size of the city with major new developments in the Kalanzur area, northeast and southeast of the city. At the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Tashkent was the fourth largest city in the USSR and a center of learning in the fields of science and engineering. Due to the 1966 earthquake and the Soviet redevelopment, little architectural heritage has survived of Tashkent's ancient history. Few structures mark its significance as a trading point on the historic Silk Road. Tashkent is the capital of and the most cosmopolitan city in Uzbekistan. It was noted for its tree-lined streets, numerous fountains, and pleasant parks, at least until the tree-cutting campaigns initiated in 2009 by the local government. Since 1991, the city has changed economically, culturally, and architecturally. New development has superseded or replaced icons of the Soviet era. The largest statue ever erected for Lenin was replaced with a globe, featuring a geographic map of Uzbekistan. Buildings from the Soviet era have been replaced with new modern buildings. The downtown Tashkent district includes the 22-story NBU Bank building, international hotels, the International Business Center, and the Plaza building. The Tashkent Business District is a special district, established for the development of small, medium, and large businesses in Uzbekistan. In 2018, was started to build a Tashkent City, new downtown, which would include a new business district with skyscrapers of local and foreign companies, world hotels such as Hilton Tashkent Hotel, apartments, biggest malls, shops, and other entertainments. The construction of the International Business Center is planned to be completed by the end of 2021. Fitch assigns BB- rating to Tashkent City, stable forecast. In 2007, Tashkent was named a cultural capital of the Islamic world by Moscow News, as the city has numerous historic mosques and significant Islamic sites, including the Islamic University. Tashkent holds the Samarkand Kufic Quran, one of the earliest written copies of the Quran, which has been located in the city since 1924. Tashkent is the most visited city in the country, and has greatly benefited from increasing tourism as a result of reforms under President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and opening up by abolishing visas for visitors from the European Union and other developing countries or making visas easier for foreigners. The first demonstration of a fully electronic TV set to the public was made in Tashkent in summer 1928 by Boris Grabovsky and his team. In his method that had been patented in Saratov in 1925, Boris Grabovsky proposed a new principle of TV imaging based on the vertical and horizontal electron beam sweeping under high voltage. Nowadays this principle of the TV imaging is used practically in all modern cathode ray tubes. Historian and ethnographer Boris Golander, Boris Golander in Russian, in a video lecture, described this event. This date of demonstration of the fully electronic TV set is the earliest known so far. Despite this fact, most modern historians disputably consider Vladimir Zworykin and Philo Farnsworth as inventors of the first fully electronic TV set. In 1964, the contribution made to the development of early television by Grabovsky was officially acknowledged by the Uzbek government, and he was awarded the prestigious degree Honorable Inventor of the Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic. Tashkent is situated in a well-watered plain on the road between Samarkand, Uzbekistan's second city, and Shymkent across the border. Tashkent is just 13 kilometers from two border crossings into Kazakhstan. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and families. See you in the next one.